Hey everyone, I'm here today with Spellbound, a fire troupe based in NorCal. And today we're really going to talk about exploring the themes of movement as medicine. They are a fire troupe, uh, we're going to go ahead and talk about how movement can transform not only us on an individual level, but also the power it brings to the collective. So let's go ahead and begin. And for those of you who are new to my channel, hey everyone, I'm Anya. Welcome to the season of Anya, where we are building a community here full of witches, yogis, empaths, mystics, and everyone else in between who are looking to heal the world through multiple healing modalities such as yoga, magic, and witchcraft. With that said, welcome you guys. Today we've got Oasis, we've got Zephyr, and we've got Jem from Spellbound. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, Anya.
Hello.
Hi.
So to begin, let's go ahead and read off your mission statement here. An all-inclusive BIPOC and LGBTQ plus affirming fire troupe of skilled and professional performers dedicated to a dynamic interaction and continuous state of flow. We honor and uplift the local community through conscious collaboration, respect, and meaningful engagement. Our mission is to help heal our community through self-expression, kinetic movement, creating a relationship with the fire element, ensemble playing, and cohesion, cultivating a safe space and respectful culture. So, without further ado, let's get into it. How did Spellbound begin?
Well, that all started with Natasha's little idea sprouting from the ground one day.
Jem and I sat at a table and we just mapped it out. I started with the fire insurance, and that really gave us the confidence that we needed to move forward with the troupe. And then we just started offering all-inclusive. Anyone could come to practices at Jem's house. And then we built on from there through Starlight. She goes to school at Humboldt Cal Poly. And so through a group she's in, she was able to offer us a dance studio there. So we now moved our studio practices to Cal Poly, and then our fire practices either at the beach or at someone's house, and then events maybe twice a month. So we try to balance our time to 2 days a week. Sometimes it's 3 days, and yeah.
I should also add that before we started Spellbound as a group, we have all been in other fire dancer groups throughout the area. We've all kind of done performances and shows with fire and without fire, and found that this is kind of a passion that really unites our community. And, that's a big important part of us being able to work through the challenge of this kind of not very well known field that's kind of still emerging, of like performance art with slow art kind of techniques and styles, and then adding fire to it. So we kind of pulled together a lot of our expertise and how we think a group like this should be run, and how we can pass on this art to other people who are curious about it, and unite people who are kind of already in it but don't really like have a group that they want they can perform with. So that's all part of our kind of overall mission that brings us kind of together.
We definitely took a lot of inspiration from the other troupe, how other people succeeded, what we'd like to replicate in our own various ways, and what we'd like to do for ourselves and how to make ourselves different from everyone else.
Ooh, so how do you make yourself different from everyone else?
We make it different by dancing together. So we're pushing dynamic interactions, which means that you have to spend time with one another, trust one another, and lean into each other. We trust each other to play closely with fire and dance around one another, train together. We built deep relationships through Spellbound, and everyone's invited to build these relationships, but you have to want to put in the time and the work to make the relationships happen and to make the dance happen.
Well, I imagine with with groups like this, right? There's so much interest because I mean, anytime you see, like, I have so much respect for the fire community because that is just such a beautiful art in itself. But like logistically, I feel like that is a complete like undertaking for sure because it's like, okay, just like as someone like me who's a witch, and when we build covens already trying to build that flow state and have that kind of intuitive, flow, for lack of a better way of putting it, and then adding the fire element, is already hard enough, and then adding the fire element to that mix is just like, oh, so hats off to you guys for that.
So what you're talking about there is a ritual.
Yeah,
When we light the fire, we are going through planned steps that concern safety, helping out one another, dipping each other's props, lighting each other, fire safetying for one another. So through the act of fire spinning and doing it on fire, not just the dance in the studio, we are performing ritual.
absolutely. There's a sense of safety. I mean, deep, deep, deep safety, just trusting someone to hold, and also collaboration with that. So I think that's amazing. Um, One thing that is part of your guys' mission statement is how you're BIPOC and LGBTQ plus affirming. How's that shaped the heart of the troupe, both on stage and behind the scenes?
I think a lot of our group dynamics are built on that kind of trust and, acceptance of us in all our different ways. It's been a, very important part of our troop dynamics. And we want to be respectful to all different cultures, and because everybody kind of brings their own like style, background. Like fire dancing doesn't just emerge from, the shores of California. It comes from all over the world in different places and different folks, and it also draws on all sorts of different dance styles and martial arts disciplines and, you know, and different cultures and different body types. Like they all kind of add to the overall tapestry that, this emerging culture. It's just really beautiful to see. So yeah, we also like really try to organize in a very kind of way that's allows for folks to kind of be a real part of planning and organizing things. Not just kind of like a hierarchical, like, yes, we do need like folks who are gonna like organize and budget and like, make sure all the like safety protocols and things are being followed. But we do very much like open it up to new and old fire dancers to be able to contribute to the overall vision in a way that's kind of like builds on the community. Um, yeah, I often told like how we're so very welcoming, like kind of like a family, by folks who are like new and have maybe like tried to get with, get into other groups and like found that there's this kind of like hazing or, unhealthy dynamics there. And we definitely try to steer away from that because we think that enriches our ability to create art, if we have that kind of positive, welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah, I think making it all inclusive is all about verbalizing our intentions and what our expectations are, and that what respecting each other and dancing with each other really looks like, and collaborating on this level from being in the dance studio and then transitioning your choreographs into fire and figuring that all out. And people have a lot of autonomy in what they choose to help out with. We like to build off of other people's strengths. So if someone wants to do one thing in particular, we've given them that power to do that.
Sure, that's important.
Everyone is welcome. What is not welcome is hate and hate speech. So I guess when you mentioned that first part, our our statement is please come, please join us, but please don't hate or express negativity toward people in our crew.
I think that is actually also too, right? Like having just that open inclusiveness doesn't necessarily have to have this huge undertaking of a goal where it's like, of course we all want to change the world, but sometimes honestly just saying, and look, I'm team, I want to change the world, so I want that. But also honestly, like I think a lot of times in the community, like it's amazing. I mean, I talk to people who are like super spiritual, they identify as witches or whatever, and the hate speech, with the LGBTQ plus community, with our trans brothers and sisters, with all of that. It's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, we're gonna really? So, just saying, like, no, we're not putting up with this should already just be baseline, but unfortunately it isn't. So I'm sure do you find that you see a lot of that within the not your community, but within the community? I know Zephyr, you mentioned hazing earlier, which is kind of surprising to me.
It is, but it's just something that's like common to a lot of human dynamics you see in a lot of groups. If they're not like conscious about it, like it tends to happen where, something's not even said, but folks will treat someone a little different, just because of how they present or, how they talk or, it could be anything. Pick any number of things. It'll be like a way of kind of it's just like an unhealthy like ego reinforcement, I guess. And we're a group of very conscious individuals, so that's not our vision for the world. So it's definitely not the vision for like, the community that we want to build. To have those kind of dynamics, I think.
When we were starting this, we decided before we even went into this that we were going to steer clear of all of that because we wanted to have good interactions, good fire spinning, good choreographs, but we don't want to, we want to focus on fire spinning, not on drama.
Yeah. But
Yes.
unfortunately, that means sometimes you have to deal with the drama just like in healthy ways.
Yeah.
Confronting
Like, being conscious of that.
So we do that by having a once a month board meeting, and we also have like a little check-in, but we try to do the check-in on the end of practice and not in the beginning. Maybe a little like short check-in, but like the more like longer talk stuff on the end of practice. Because when you have new people coming in, they don't care what you got going on. They don't want to hear you talk. They just want to dance.
What's that Outcast song? I know you know that one. Y'all don't want to hear me. Y'all just want to dance. Yes. No, but real talk. And like into a way too, I think having again, right, movement as medicine, being able like knowing that like, oh God, we're gonna have this talk at the end. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like let's really just like move this energy and try to purify it a little bit before getting into it because so many of us like are so can have been conditioned to be so afraid of confrontation and stuff like that. But that is a healthy group dynamic. I mean, you guys definitely operate from what I can tell is a very healthy group. I mean, it's important to have boundaries. It's unfortunate part of the process, but it is, one because one bad egg can really ruin a group. And especially when you're working with something like fire, obviously people, aren't going to hopefully do crazy stuff, but also at the same time, it's like it is such a vulnerable thing. And the beauty of having group ritual, however you express your movement or your ritual, is by being open and honest and authentic and raw. And when people are bringing in that sourness, it has no room for it. Just there's no room for that in a healthy group. And I'm glad to hear you guys have your checks and balances, and for sure.
And yeah, there's definitely an element of crazy for sure. I mean, we're still working with fire here. So,
True.
but I mean, like on that, like there is a kind of I don't know, everybody has their own like reason for why they get into fire dancing. Um, but it is, as far as I've seen, we're all kind of working with whatever our crazy is, and like how do we channel that in healthy, positive ways that empower ourselves and, our community and the world around us. Um, and fire dancing is like a you can get really hurt if you're not like following very like strict and specific guidelines, or just like don't have conscious awareness of what you're doing. You can get really hurt. Um, but at the same time, it also evokes this like deep emotional response, as the dancer and as the viewer. because it's still an uncontrolled, element to some degree. Um, and people kind of use that. I think it evokes a sort of like spiritual element to us that lets us access parts of ourselves, that we can do like shadow work, or just like,
Mm.
to tap into our spiritual, um, whatever, tools we need, you know. So it's the consciousness of it like really like helps with the balance of keeping it safe, and so many of these factors. Um, like, yeah.
Yeah, no, and one thing that you actually really said that I think is incredible is how this also, we're talking again, movement as medicine, shadow work has been into play. I'd love to hear how you guys kind of how you address how this helps you with your shadow work. Is it the element of working again with something very, very hot and dangerous? Is it, are you, almost like you have shit going on in your life and you're through flowing through it, and it's just like just that element of confidence or
Oh, for
or
sure, yeah. Flow state is like, indifferent, whatever like form it comes, like, yes, we do it with like fire props or, different kinds of circus props, but flow state exists for like writers and artists and, any number of skills and professions. And it's a kind of like presentness and confidence in what you're doing. And in like a dangerous context like fire dancing, to be able to access flow state while you have this raw primal element, um, it can be a very like empowering, confidence building thing. You know, like I said earlier, kind of tapping into a mystical reverence. So it's definitely different for all folks, but it's always kind of, yeah, very spiritually impactful. And that's I think, important part of shadow work. Because when you're, if you're actively doing your shadow work, you are confronting some really icky stuff, about yourself or about things know, you thought you knew about the world around you. And it's good to have, you really do need to have some kind of confidence and faith in yourself, which can be kind of hard to find in those times. So I think fire dancing really helps kind of create a physical manifestation. If you kind of channel it that way, it can be a good like manifestation of confidence and power and, divine beauty, whatever you kind of feel in the particular flow that you're in. That's a very important tool, I think, that has been, in my shadow work, and I think for a lot of others who are in this community. Um, and yeah, it'd be really cool to see that as like, recognized as a legitimate tool among, the many that are emerging in the world of conscious living.
Have you ever been in the middle of the desert and gone up a hill and looked down at fire spinners?
I wish I need to add that to my list.
The light and the movement is just incredible. And if you think about it, if there's aliens out there looking down, they're going to see these fire spinners. So you're not just dancing for yourself and your community, you're dancing for whatever's up there looking and checking it out because they could see that light. And it's a pretty trippy thought sometimes if you go down that rabbit hole. Performing and getting on stage, it's empowering and it's thrilling. You get to move and dance and play with fire, and you're entertaining. The whole thing is a lot of fun. But dancing for yourself and doing it not on stage, but just in the middle of nature,
Mm.
it's definitely spiritual, and there's definitely a connection to the higher self.
There's a way that I like to think about it. I kind of gained inspiration from someone else who talked about how fire is an alchemical process that transitions different types of energies. So if you think about it, we have a lot of potential energy stored from whatever we have going on in life, or if we're just not doing too much, or if we need to release energy or change something that's going on. Fire is kind of a tool that us fire spinners can use to transition something into actual movements, or just a different perspective, or to just burn off something old into something new.
Ooh, I love that. I love the element of fire. I mean, it's such an incredible one, and just hearing you guys talk about it, and I mean, really, I feel like also it encourages you, or kind of demands, it doesn't really encourage, but it's demanding that you have to show up. You have to be fully present for this. Like, no matter what kind of day you're having, if you're gonna, you're gonna mess with that element. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, you're gonna burn. Fire is potent. Fire is life force, right? It's energy. I mean, it's everything. Let's see. Ooh, so with that, all of this good juju, as you all look towards the future of Spellbound, how do you hope to expand your role in the community healing then? Like, what does deeper integration and work with the local community look like to you?
I think bigger outreach. So far it's our slow season. We did a lot of shows during the summertime, and it was really nice. We were very busy. So right now we're kind of our slow season. So we've just been doing practices and getting other stuff ready, but we've been trying to do a lot more outreach and trying to get more people connected.
Cool.
Yeah, not just other fire dancers in the community, but also like during earlier this year, we've like attended several different festivals and like little music events, just like in the local community. And we would set up what are so-called flow zones, which are, we set aside a little physical space for and bring some flow props that we made, just like not fire ones, but like practice ones. And we kind of show folks the ropes, so to speak, and have let them have a go at like flowing with props to music, and see if that was something that they connect with. And a kind of broader effort to kind of bring this to the community as a way to kind of get out and into your body, and start kind of spreading the word that this exists as an art form and as physical activity.
I'm hoping that we could tap into some Renaissance festivals and work more with play, creating personas and shows that are playful and have themes and are maybe have messages, maybe even a little bit of the word is blanking on me, but activism. Some activism would be nice. So these are ways that we could engage with our community and our audience, that we're still tapping into.
Ooh, so activism in the sense like kind of like fundraiser activism, fire dancing for a cause, in that sense, or
Well, we're specifically recently talking about how one of our friends, he does a lot of activism in terms of doing protests and um, fighting the status quo, or doing protests against Israel and pro-Palestine. And so he asked if we wanted to do some fire dancing or some flow arts for the protests and just come support them as well. So that's something that we're looking forward to in the future.
sure. I mean, it's in the best way possible. I mean, it is a spectacle, It's like you're gonna get people to you may not get people to stop with your signs, right? But it's like, damn, dude, you're gonna get some attention with that, and I think that's beautiful.
I have to say that like once I started flow arts, I realized that the folks you see that are like hired sometimes to like spin signs on the corner, probably some of the like most legendary flow artists out there.
Yes,
Then get into
that's
it.
true.
Definitely.
That
But
is
yeah,
true. That was my first job, so
So yeah, like, how do you get through that job, but except for it to like flow with it, with what you got.
that is so
Um,
true. That is so real. Use what you got, you know?
yeah, so it is, but yeah, it is also, you know, there's like different ways we can engage with, large groups of people, whether it's for a cause or just for fun. Just like with this bright and colorful kinetic motion, it speaks to something. And just I think is a good way to encourage folks to just be more comfortable with themselves, and expressing themselves and their, being confident in their body. Um, I don't know. I've heard people tell me like, because I just like do random like flows and at social events and stuff, and like people will come up and say like, wow, you're so like confident in yourself and your dance and body, and like it's kind of inspiring, like because we're all kind of overcoming that shy awkwardness of like, how do I present myself, do I need to like hold myself a certain way? And I think flow artists kind of help bridge that gap a little bit, because we're willing to kind of get a little silly and wave our arms and legs around a little bit, like with this silly kind of gesture flair sometimes. And I don't know,
Yes.
it's important. It's silly, but silly is very important.
That's so true though. Like, I mean, I'm not a fire dancer, but I love joining, I love drum circles and stuff. And it's like the moment I take it too seriously, it all goes to hell. And it's like, okay, now I care that I'm trying something new. I'm trying to be expressive. I'm trying to be creative. And then it's like, okay, well, now I care about what other people think, or, oh my God, am I being too loud and like offbeat? It's like, no, have fun with it. And that is so important because I think also too, on an activism note too, going back to that, I truly feel that the ability to stand out is what is going to create, is what's going to continue to create movements, like literal movements or metaphorical movements, in society. Because if we're just trying to, blend in with status quo too much, we're never going to get anywhere.
I think it's like, what does it mean to like blend into status quo? It's kind of to be like feeling the fear of being like singled out, or not making the status quo. Like that's kind of a fear-based place, really. And flow arts is all about combating fear, really. Like if you're fearful, you're not going to be a flow artist, because there's a lot of presentation and stuff flying at your face or around yourself. It really is like expression of well, it's expression. Expression takes courage, and if you can
Yes.
find a way to tap into that courage and confidence, you can express whatever it is that you feel, you know whether it's about something external or self or whatever. Like,
Anxiety is going to happen. I mean, it's unavoidable. So there's no perfect world where anxiety doesn't exist.
oh, definitely not in this one for sure, right?
I
But it's
wish.
okay not to dance. And it's okay to take a step back. So on nights where I do feel this anxiety, I take a step back and I fire safety and I allow other people to shine because everyone wants to dance. So if I'm feeling that feeling of anxiety, instead of pushing myself further, I say, okay, tonight's not my night. And I watch my friends and I let them, I watch them do their thing.
That's so beautiful. And that is, again, the essence of community, right? Even though it's like, even though it's standing out, there is also this essence of flow and doing what's for the greater good of the community. Because, yeah, like anyone getting in their ego can, severely impact an event when you're, like you said, you're just not, it's not your night, and owning that about yourself too. And that's okay. Um,
I actually have a fire prop I've named Ego, because it has a tendency, if I get too into that zone, it has a tendency to bump me on the head.
Oh.
And I've had a couple like head lumps just like from the handle. It's like this big metal ball on one end. And yeah, that it reminds me that like, okay, can't get too carried away. You gotta like, follow, balance it in the other way a little bit.
But yeah, we definitely do like to practice just showing up and acknowledging where we're at. And you don't have to do anything, but as long as you showed up, we acknowledge that you showed up. We acknowledge where you're at. And if you need space or if you don't want to get involved in the fire dancing that night, or you just need a little bit transition time, we offer that as well. And so you'll even see, like, if you ever come to one of our practices, our indoor practices, like we'll have like a little intro and check in and how we're doing. And then it's kind of a community bonding experience for all of us. And so we kind of just know we're all out for that night.
Yeah.
And Jim and I, our partnership is like that too. We don't force each other to come to each practice. We allow each other space to fill in for one another when someone needs a break, because you can't do all the things.
Yeah, and we're all doing this for fun. But
Yes.
we still got, lots of life to handle. So it's important to remember that, like, even though we get very passionate and serious about this, like, we do have to balance this with the rest of our lives and support each other in that.
Yeah. And again, with things like this too, that it's important. It's like, hey, am I still having fun? Because it's so easy to turn anything into a grind, right? So as long as you're still having fun, and if you're not, yeah, like exactly. It's like, hey, I gotta tend to life. I'll be right back. And like, and having that support is huge. Because a lot of groups, it's like it tends to fall on one person. And I can feel the cohesion just even with how effortless I feel like this interview, this conversation has gone. It's like I can see it. So um, my hat goes off to you guys. Wrapping it up, last question. Um, like just in a sentence or two, I would love to know what is one part of your soul that you feel you bring to this community?
One part of your soul.
Your soul.
I feel like I bring a lot of playfulness and goofiness.
Playfulness
Uh,
and what?
goofiness.
Goofiness. I love
Yeah.
that.
I like to joke around and connect with people in class in my own way, and even in my own dance style too. I kind of like to clown around.
People need that.
I think I like to kind of manifest courage, confidence. I I go by never let fear rule your fate. It's an important part of, you know, figuring it out. Like you never let it control you.
Mm.
I guess mine's kindness and nurture. I'm a
Oh,
mom, and I have mom vibes. I
you do. You
can't
do.
shake it. That's
You
just who
always
I
have.
am.
I've known this chick since high school. She always has. She always
Since
has.
middle school. You've known me
Oh
since
my God,
middle
yeah, that's
school.
right. Seventh grade, maybe even sixth grade, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to Spellbound. Shout out to Natasha, Oasis. We got Zephyr and Jen. Truly, thank you guys. Like, I sure hope one day we can cross paths in person, whether I head up to you guys or if you guys ever, I'm also trying to find my flow and trying to find something with the arts in here in San Diego. So if you guys ever feel like making a road trip, the drumming community loves and the witches as well love our fire dancers. So
Oh yeah,
for those of
we
you
actually
watch,
have connections to San Diego as well, so we'll probably see you out there.
dope. I think 2026 is going to be a very good year for community. And to those of you watching, make sure I'll have all the links down below. You can you can if you're in the right greater Eureka area, you'd call it. You guys are for hire as well. If not, link up with these wonderful souls. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.